Hey Warriors, it's Bill again. Here we are. Friday, April 9th, 2021. I got the month right this time, April. Okay, Friday, April 9th, 2021. Okay, so I was just perusing some of the stuff going on out there, and man, there's a bunch of it. So I just wanted to share some stuff. Basically, what I'm kind of trying to do is to introduce people to what's going on a little bit at a time. I know that we're kind of running out of time. We really are, because things are starting to escalate. So if you're just new to the whole, well, you're gonna get the jargon anyway. If you're just recently being introduced to the truth about life, the universe, and everything as we know it, and you're just starting to wake up, this is kind of for you. And if you've been around a while, or you know what's going on, this may not, at least parts of it won't be. Some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today is in the news today, so that's the reason that it's coming up. But if you're new to this whole thing and you're just starting to realize that we are being manipulated, well, yes, we are being manipulated in a great way, and we have been for a long time. Not only by the mainstream media, but by in almost every aspect of our lives. And I know that this all sounds crazy, and lots of people are going, okay, whatever, and they want to shut the thing down. Hear me out though. When you start to see all these discrepancies going on all the time, and there's really no explanation for it, and then you kind of go, you know what? I'm just not really buying this stuff anymore. There's got to be more to this, and you start looking around. And granted, there's some people out there that are a little bit out there, but because the media has been the way that it has been for so long, and the advent of the internet, it's a double-edged sword. It can be used majorly for propaganda, which they do. And on the other side of the coin, there is the digital soldiers. And those are the people that are out there digging around and investigating and finding out what's really going on and bringing the truth, bringing the real news in the world. And it's crazy, the amount of stuff that is going on that you'll never see. If you don't look for it, you'll never see it. You'll never know that it's going on. And then when somebody says something to you, oh yeah, well that person's got to be in that case. Well, they're not. In fact, they have the truth. And the people sit in front of CNN and MSNBC, ABC, all of the television media and the even the internet media, Politico and Reuters and the Associated Press, they're all compromised. They're all run by the same people, and they say exactly what they're told to, and they will ignore the truth, and they will feed lies day and night, and they do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they have been for a long time. So I'm going to play this real quick because this is something that I put out. Bazillions of people have seen this, but if you're new and you may not have seen this, this is just kind of an example, and I'm not going to go in detail to that. There's other videos about it. You can look at mine that goes a little bit more into detail with the whole media manipulation thing, and you can try that. But here, we'll just take a look at this real quick, and then we'll move on.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
We are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Okay, so you get the point, right? And that right there is a primary example of what they do. They're actually saying exactly what they're doing. They're the ones that are manipulating the stories, leaving out the truth, telling complete untruths, and the fact checkers. I encourage if you, most people make fun of the fact checkers, and we should. But Candace Owens right now has got a thing out on Facebook, and I'll see if I can find it and put the link. I should have done it. And I should have had it and played it here. But she's going after the fact checkers. In fact, she's suing them, and it's awesome what she has to say, because she lines out exactly who the fact checkers are, like on Facebook and stuff, tells who they are and who they're employed by, who pays them, and you find it pretty interesting who they answer to. So anyhow, that's just that part of it. So yes, there's all kinds of crazy stuff out there. Now, what they do too as well, if you haven't realized it, and this all goes back to years and years and years ago, back into the middle 50s, the 40s and 50s and stuff like that. And if you want to find out, do the research. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to tell you anything that you should believe. You should go check it out for yourself. I have, and I have found it to be 100% accurate. There is no doubt in my mind that what I'm telling you is true, because I've seen documentation, I've seen examples over and over and over again. So if you don't believe me, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. That's not the point. The point is I'm being true to what I believe God's called me to do, which is to help people wake up. And we need to. If you even think about the verbiage that they use, when first of all, it started out with radio. Now, radio was just innocuous as far as I'm concerned. I haven't really studied that out. But when television came around, that was a whole different thing. And the government got involved, and they decided that it could be weaponized for the good of the bad guys behind the scenes. Think of the word television. Tell-a-vision. What did they start out calling the television program? They called it television programs. They have been programming us, and they don't hide it. It's right out in front of us. If you stop long enough to look, it's there, and you'll see it. So, but anyway, what they also do is what they call predictive programming. Now, what that is if you haven't heard the term before, is where you're introduced to things that you would find maybe outlandish or hard to believe, or mythical or mythological or whatever. Or a concept that may be really difficult to receive because it's too hideous or atrocious or just whatever. And what they do is they use television, they use movies. Hollywood is up to their eyeballs in it. And the further you study this out, the further you find out that they're hiding all of this stuff in plain sight right in front of us. And they tell us all of these things so that we will be primed and ready for when they want to actually introduce things into our lives that we may have been resistant to, or may have been completely and totally been shocked by. Okay. Now there's also the other facet of all of the things that have been scrubbed from history, from the internet, that we've never been taught. We were never taught in schools. We've never been taught, you can't find the information online anymore. In fact, it moves pretty quickly. If something that's particularly of interest to them not getting out, they'll scrub it from the internet so quick you can't find it. That's why the digital soldiers are so important, because people are doing screen grabs. They're getting the stuff. They download it to their own machines, and we can keep uploading it to different platforms and things like that. So it's like whack-a-mole for them. They're trying to get rid of it as fast as everybody puts it up. So there's that part of it. We as individuals, if you feel called to or compelled to do it, we need to get it around. We need to share it to other people. And I know there's so many people out there that just can't even believe that this could possibly be happening. It couldn't be real. Well, it is. So that was just one thing. Now, going back to the predictive programming. So all of the things that are going on in the world and in the news right now and things like that, it's all a program. They know what they're doing. They know what road they're taking us down and for what reasons. And there's good guys and bad guys. There's guys on both sides. And the bad guys, obviously, they don't care about any of us. And the fascinating thing to me is that people put their trust in the government, by and large, especially with this whole pandemic thing and the vaccines and all this other stuff. And then they jump on people that have done research outside of that and have researched it with people who are equally, if not more competent and knowledgeable in the areas, say, of being a virologist or a viral biologist, or these medical professionals, these professors, doctors, and things like that. And all of these people come out and tell the truth, and the mainstream media shuts them down and shuts them up, because the government people, they're the authorities and they know for sure. Well, you have to understand, or think about this critically. Why would all of these outside people care? What do they have to benefit? What do they have to gain by getting the truth out there? Well, the answer is what they have to gain is they know that in their heart that they've done the best they could to warn people about what's going on. Because the people that are shoving it down our throat from the government level and things like that, they don't have our best interest at heart at all. In fact, that's the last thing they're thinking about. So just think about that for a minute, if you don't, if it makes sense to you or not. So anyway, the whole predictive programming thing. So you'll see things come up like that are just so far-fetched and so fantastical that, and then all of a sudden, later on in time, it manifests itself. It becomes real. I'll be darned. And so, and I mean, there's a lot of that people, and they want us to think that it's technological advances, and that's true to a degree, but it's a lot more than that. So the predictive programming thing. So one of the things that we haven't heard a lot about, but was a big deal in history and then kind of went away, and now it's coming back and all of a sudden again, is aliens and UFOs. Now, I know what a lot of people think. Oh, the only thing they know is that Joe Bob got abducted, and I seen him with my own eyes. He came down and he put me on a table, and then, and they're talking about being abducted by aliens and probes and stuff. Well, when you start going down that rabbit hole, you find out that that's all true, and it was picked up and hushed up by the government, and it's more nefarious than you could even possibly imagine if you start going down that rabbit hole too. But one of the things that is kind of a commonly accepted thing in society is that's fantasy, that's fake, it's Hollywood, it makes a good story, but it isn't true. Or the people that think, well, there might be life on other planets. I don't know. They'd like us to believe that. But anything that doesn't come from this planet is not interstellar. It's interdimensional. It's demonic. It's the battle between good and evil. Okay, and that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that it's all mystical and magical, and that's why they're setting us up for this whole thing. So I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but it's interesting how all of a sudden this stuff has been coming out in the news recently about aliens and whatnot. So I started doing some searches here, and here's just a couple of examples. And I want to put DuckDuckGo and Google side by side so you can see the difference in them. Okay, so I started out with this one, and all I did was type in aliens, and I went to the news tab, because if you type in aliens or alien, all you get is the movie Alien, pretty much. So, blah, blah, blah. Oh, New York Times. So the New York Times, 3 weeks ago, wrote an article, when the aliens arrive, what will they look like? A zoologist has answers. Okay. So 3 weeks ago, a zoologist somewhere decides he's going to talk about what he thinks aliens might look like, and the New York Times publishes it. Really? Now you would think in the overall scheme of things, like the universe and things going on in the world right now, who would care about that? Okay. I'm just saying, they're laying the groundwork. The next one is why aliens should be terrified of NASA's new space telescope. Now they're telling us that we have the ability to see out into space and we can identify these things, and aliens might want to be worried about us. I don't know what that has. And honestly, I'm not going to read about 98% of these things. Out of Forbes 2 weeks ago, our first contact with aliens will be with a superior civilization, say NASA scientists as they narrow the hunt. Okay? This is all in the last couple or 3 weeks, right? And in Forbes and New York Times and places like that. Okay. Then there's some goofy ones, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so that wasn't even the first one. So that was the second page. The first one is a New York Post article 2 days ago. Aliens might be friendly, but don't bet on it. Experts' dire warning. Really? Why would the New York Post be talking about something like that right now with all of the stuff that we got going on with the pandemic and with the gun legislation and with the border crisis and with the stuff escalating in the Ukraine and Russia? Why would they be talking about these things? You have to ask yourself. Well, because it's coming. You just wait and see. Let me see. Going down further. Asia Times, did alien UFOs swarm U.S. Navy destroyers? You should read that. So that's just in the first 2 pages of Google. Let's jump over to DuckDuckGo real quick. And we'll make sure I'm on the first page of, I guess I am. I'm on the first page of results. In the news, leading scientists on the Hill, leading scientist predicts we will contact aliens but could have a terrible outcome. That was only 20 hours ago. Okay? Aliens might be friendly, but don't bet on it. That's going back to the New York Post. Same thing. Air and Space Magazine, 3 days ago. The Science of Aliens, Part 1. Would they be friendly or threatening? Okay. The Sun. And this is just one simple search. All I did was put in aliens. Okay, now if you they've gone from calling them UFOs to UAVs. Okay, so I typed in UAV and UFO. Okay, and so then we come back to did the alien UFO swarm the Navy destroyers? Swarms of flashing tic-tac shaped UFOs chased 4 Navy destroyers. Daily Mail, 16 days ago. So that was when that was all happening 16 days ago. Alrighty. And that's one of the things one of the physical things that they're stirring all this up with. In Google, this is the first one. Mystery drones hovered over Navy destroyers off California, report says. And then, so it's all about the same thing. Newly released incident reports. Mystery jetpack flyer spotted near Los Angeles, and it's not the first time. Oh, that's probably just So anyway, you got to take some of these with a grain of salt. Let's go to the second page of that one just to see. Okay, and that's 2017, 2019. Okay, so that's going back away. So anyway, but those are just in the last, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Just a ton of this stuff. And not only that, but here you see former director of something or another, former DNI director, John Radcliffe. He's on Maria Bartiromo, and this is back on March 19th, so this is just about 3 weeks ago, too. And they're talking about the Pentagon declassifying all these things that the government knows about UFOs.
John, you have seen in your role the most intelligence that anybody has seen other than the president as the director of national intelligence. And I've been wanting to ask you this next question for a while. I want to ask you about UFOs, unidentified flying objects. The Pentagon is going to come out with a report by June 1st. And in the $2.3 trillion omnibus appropriations legislation passed in January, it includes the Intelligence Authorization Act, money for the Pentagon to continue investigating UFOs. John, we're going to get this report June 1st. Can you tell us, have unidentified flying objects been seen?
Well, sure. We have lots of reports about what we call unidentified aerial phenomenon. And this actually is a program that's been in place for a few years in terms of a task force that has been there under the National Defense Authorization Act. But as you correctly point out, Maria, there's now a report that will be issued by the Pentagon, by the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence. I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that, exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain.
Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to put the link down in the description, so if you want to watch that whole thing, you can. But I guess what the bottom line is this, is that we're in crazy times. We're in the middle of a battle of good and evil that's been going on since the beginning of mankind. And where you are on the spectrum of, in between, whether you are on God's side or you don't believe in God or whatever, we're running out of time, basically, is what it's coming down to. It's starting to escalate. And I'm not trying to predict anything, but I have news for you. When they start making noise about stuff like this so much, this is a soft rollout. They're preparing the grounds for something, and you wait and see. It's not going to be it may not be in the next month or two, or maybe a year or whatever, but not in the not too distant future. We're going to wind up having a visitation from aliens, and depending upon where we are in the whole escalation of the madness on the planet, what they are going to, what their role is going to be in this whole thing still remains to be seen. If you're a believer, I believe that this might be part of the end times deception that they're going to use to try and deceive people into believing that the aliens were the ones that planted Earth and they're technically our creators and all this other stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that stuff. You're going to have to make your own decisions on that. But the facts are the facts. And if you've watched any of this stuff historically roll out, you find out that the truth is, the truth is always interesting. Let's put it that way. And it's never what they maintain it is until they put it out there, and then it's their truth. It isn't the truth. So, and the truth is the Bible, and it comes from the Word of God. And there is a creator. He is God. There is Lucifer. There is a hell. It's good and bad. There's no middle ground. You got to make a choice. And so that's really what this is all about. So I encourage you to look into some of this stuff, because it sounds kind of crazy, but just do some searching and you'll find out. And the more you search, the farther you search, the more you'll find out. And the further you look, the more truth you'll find, because they can't get rid of all of us. So anyway, check it out. It was just interesting to me, so I thought I'd throw that up there. Alrighty then, well, if I don't see you again beforehand, have a great weekend. Everybody take care. Keep the shiny side up, and as always, peace. Oh, and links are going to be in the description below, and you can also jump on Telegram and things like that. I'll put links to Telegram there where you can find me. Trying to get this stuff out a little bit. Share them around, and if you find that it was informative. All right, love you guys. Take care. God bless you. Talk to you soon.